This is the Jaguar F-Type R75, a sports coupe powered by a 575 horsepower V8 with a compressor. This specimen is on the endangered species list. The date of its eventual extinction is known and is approaching inexorably. So let's listen to it again in its natural habitat, not the studio recording preserved in the audio library. This recording for the future generations business is unfortunately true, as is the end of the F-Type. Jaguar recorded the sound of the V8 compressor engine that powers this beautiful car and deposited it in the British Library. This has to do with the implementation of the brand's electromobility plan, which foresees that all new cars from 2025 will be electrified, meaning mild hybrids, PHEVs and fully electric models. Ultimately, the entire range will be fully electric. In this situation, there is no place for a car powered by an engine that realistically uses 12 to 13 liters per 100 kilometers in the combined cycle. The manufacturer promises 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Fortunately, there is a 70-liter fuel tank. Jaguar also promises a 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time of 3.7 seconds and 80 to 120 kilometers per hour in 2.3 seconds. I checked and achieved similar results both in normal and sport modes. The 5-liter V8 with a compressor, which powers the F-Type, later also appeared under the bonnet of the Range Rover Sport SVR, which was as crazy as it sounds. That car is no longer with us either. Sigh. Besides the 5-liter monsters, which come with all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, there is also a rear-wheel drive 2-liter turbo petrol model. Now, if you don't know the difference between a compressor and a turbocharger, no shame in that. I'm here to explain. So, both devices boost engine power without the need to increase the engine displacement, like you would need it in a 5-liter engine. Anyway, they increase the pressure in the intake system, allowing more oxygen to enter the combustion chambers, which in turn increases the efficiency of combustion of the fuel mixture. Now, the turbocharger is driven by exhaust gas stream ejected from the engine, while the compressor is driven from the crankshaft, and with a compressor there is no turbo lag, which is a good thing, but a compressor puts constant load on the engine while generating less power than a turbocharger. The compressor is generally more reliable, but it is also larger and heavier and leads to much greater fuel consumption. A turbocharger, on the other hand, is less reliable, but also works good with smaller engines. In 2014, the F-Type replaced the XK, which replaced the XJS, which replaced the E-Type, which replaced the XK. So, since there was an E-Type, an F-Type sounded like the next step in the brand's history. What does the F-Type compete against? First and foremost, Porsche, and the rest doesn't matter. In terms of price and performance, the least powerful 2-liter model goes up against mid-level Boxsters and Caymans, and yes, you can have the F-Type both as a coupe and a convertible. The most powerful F-Type's price and performance is comparable to the 911 Carrera 4S. Somehow Jaguar managed to make a car that's smaller than a 911, but it's also less fuel efficient and about 200 kilograms heavier. Jaguar leans heavy into aluminum, pun intended. But does the car feel like it weighs nearly 1900 kilograms? Oh no. The F-Type accelerates and brakes like a much lighter car, and it corners like it's on rails, which is certainly helped by wide tires as well as the all-wheel drive system. But I forget about the all-wheel drive system because the car handles like a rear-wheel drive car. And if you plan to disable the traction control, you better make sure there are no obstacles within a radius of a few hundred meters, also because of the steering. Now, the steering is old school. It's a rack and pinion job, no variable ratio. The steering is electrically assisted because lane keeping assist and all that, but the feedback is good. Not as good as in a Porsche, but good enough. The turning circle is about 12 meters, which is comparable to a BMW 7 Series with rear-wheel steering. The Porsche 911 needs a meter less than the F-Type to turn around. When I picked the car up from the press office, out of the gate I almost curbed the wheel. That's how wide the F-Type turns. Of course, at high speeds you won't feel it, and the F-Type loves to accelerate. Even a law-abiding driver can lose their license in this car. The F-Type encourages you to go faster at high revs in sport mode, and the speed and the sound, they're intoxicating. The F-Type is like my high-maintenance ex. She was attractive, she wasn't shy about it, she was greedy, impulsive, and had an expensive taste. And she liked to party without looking back. If anyone couldn't keep up with her, she would always find someone else to party with. And this is what the F-Type is all about. It won't look back at you when the cops are taking your license away. Comfort, or rather lack thereof, sorry for the rattles, I feel the Porsche 911 is more comfortable as long as you don't go overboard with the sporty seat options. The Jaguar is also noisy and thus tiresome on longer road trips. It's a shame because with a 300 plus liter boot, it would make a great GT. Also, there is no place to comfortably rest your left foot, and the seats are exceptionally long, which may please taller drivers, but my thighs were sore after a couple of hours behind the wheel, and I couldn't find any way to make this seat shorter. The driver aids may not be the most up-to-date, but they allow adjustment to the driver's preferences. There is no adaptive cruise control, just a regular one, but the lane keeping assist can be either turned off completely, set to vibration on the steering wheel, or with active correction. And everything can be turned off for good with just a single button above the driver's left knee. Briefly about the interior, the seats are beautiful. They're electrically controlled with memory function. However, as I mentioned earlier, too bad there is no seat length adjustment. The instrument cluster is pretty much the same as in most JLR products these days. It's digital with several data display modes. Infotainment is of the older type, but it has Android Auto, however, only on a cable. Now, there are two USB-A ports under the armrest. The storage here is too small for a smartphone even. I wish there was some additional storage between the seats instead of, well, whatever this is. There's only a small net up top here, I don't know what for. Now, incidentally, the armrest cover shuts with a rather non-luxury sound, and also there is something inside the dash that rattles and it annoys me greatly. The glove box is also small. The only place for a phone is in the door pocket, as long as you have a long enough cable to use Android Auto. Because a water bottle won't fit in the door pocket. And why are there presumably, aluminum inserts in the cup holders. The metal just gets hot on a hot day, so then it heats up the drinks. I thought it was a part of some cooling system, but unfortunately, no, it's not. The gear shift lever is the same as in all Jaguars and Land Rovers of the period. In such a special car, one would like something more special, but, you know, R&D costs must be spread over many models for many years, and the raising knob in the XF wasn't very popular with customers. I, on the other hand, do not like the pop-up air vents on top of the dashboard. It's an absolutely unnecessary complication. Perhaps the money should have been spent on a different gear shift lever, or at least a regular lighter instead of this cheap plug. I appreciate the panoramic roof, but due to the wide backrest at shoulder height, I can't reach it with my right hand and I have to turn around. I'm 175 centimeters tall, and as you can see, I have to sit quite close to the dashboard. There is room for much taller drivers, but I can still use the hanger behind the seat. The boot volume is 336 liters. It is so wide that I was able to fit my gear case measuring more than 80 centimeters. I wasn't able to open it, but it fit. Incidentally, I wouldn't be able to close the tailgate if I placed it lengthwise. There's also a storage compartment under the boot floor for smaller items. The tailgate is electrically operated. Now, be careful when leaning down to reach something from the boot. There's a risk you'll touch the hot exhaust tip with your leg. The Jaguar F-Type prices start at €72,100 for a coupe with a 2-liter 300 horsepower engine and rear-wheel drive. Add about $7,500 for the convertible. Then we have a 450 horsepower V8 rear-wheel drive starting at €105,500. Add $6,000 for all-wheel drive. The range-topping 575 horsepower V8 all-wheel drive starts at €134,300. This test car with options costs €141,888. The Jaguar F-Type is a reminder of what cars used to be. They were beautiful, wild for daredevils and tough guys. Now, I won't pretend that the F-Type is my dream car and that I will shed tears when I return it. No, it was an interesting experience like that high-maintenance X of mine. But she was too fast for me. And how do you like the Jaguar F-Type? Is it an obligatory car in your dream garage, or it's not your type? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.